Hey everybody. Today what we're going to be doing is calculating standard deviation using a TI84 calculator. So again, I'm going to show you all the steps of how to input into your calculator, what buttons do you need to press, where, how do you read it, all that sort of stuff. So what I recommend for this video, please grab a TI84 calculator. The TI83s will work very similarly. There are some slight differences that I will try to, again, bring up. If you have a Casio calculator, I will have to do that as a separate video. Let's get started. All right, getting started here. To just remind ourselves of what standard deviation means. Standard deviation is the measure of the dispersion or scatter of data in relation to the mean. The larger the standard deviation, the more spread out the data is from the mean. The symbol that we're going to be using here looks like this. It's a Greek symbol. It's known as sigma, and it's lowercase sigma. So oftentimes in textbooks on the internet, kind of regardless of what course you're taking, this symbol is going to be used for standard deviation. What we're starting with here is a bunch of random test scores. I'm going to assume that these are in percent, but again, it really doesn't matter. What we're going to do first is we need to input this into the calculator. What you're going to go to first is you're going to hit the stat button on your calculator. Then you're going to go into edit. And this is going to take you to your lists. As you can see, I have some data that was in here before. So how we clear data is you're going to hit the upper arrow until you see L1 highlighted. You're going to hit clear and then enter. And that's going to get rid of any data that you have to. If you need to get rid of data from L2, L3, and so on, please do that right now. All right, then we're going to input our data one by one. So we'll input all the numbers. After each number, you'll hit enter. It should go up on your screen, and then you're going to input the second value. Hit enter, and then we're going to do all that for the rest of the data. Okay, once you have all of your data in your list, what it's worth doing is double checking that everything that was in your list has been put into your calculator correctly. Putting one wrong number in is going to calculate an incorrect standard deviation, so it's always worth double checking that all of your numbers are correct. Once you have done so, what you're going to do to calculate standard deviation is you're going to go back to the stat button and you're going to hit that. What we notice along the top bar is that there's three options. There's edit, there's calc, and there's tests. You're trying to do a calculation, so you're going to go one to the right over to calculate. What we want to look at is number one variable stats. You'll have the list, and it should be coming from L1 automatically. We didn't input a frequency list. We just had a bunch of raw data, so we're not going to put anything here, and then we're going to hit calculate. Here's what it tells you. Right across the top, we have our X bar. That's representing our mean. So our mean is 73.8%. That's one kind of nice piece of data that we can pull from this. What we can also pull is the standard deviation, which looks like this. It has the standard deviation symbol followed by X, and that equals 9.14. 111. Okay, and that's going to be your standard deviation right there. So it's as easy as that. For the TI83, here's where things are going to be different. When you hit stat and you go over to calculate and you go to one variable stats, you don't see this screen pop up. What is going to happen is you're going to have one var stats show up on your calculator screen, and then you'll probably have this like square here that just is blinking. What it wants you to do is to input some information. What you're going to do is start by inputting a bracket, which can be found right above the 8, and you're going to input L1. Next, you're going to then close that bracket, and you're going to then hit enter. And you should get the exact same thing popping up here. If you are not, you may have some other type of error happening, or maybe you didn't put your data into L1. Again, let me know if you need some help with that. If it's not quite working, I can try to help you out as best I can. All right, next piece of data that we're looking at. So the first one that we did was just when we had a bunch of raw data. Here's a different scenario that may come up, is a frequency table, so more like a histogram. The first thing that we need to do is we need to take the bowling scores. Anytime you have some type of range of data, you need to find the midpoint of that data. So the midway point between 100 and 110 would be 105. So all of our midpoints, we're going to create just a new column here. Our midpoints will be 105, 115, 125, 135, 145, and 155. And we're going to input this into our L1. So we're going to go back into list one. We're going to input this data. We're going to put the frequency into L2. So how do we go and do that? Well, let's go back to stat. Let's go to edit. We need to get rid of the data that we just put into L1. So we're going to hit the up arrow. We're going to hit clear, and then we're going to hit enter, and now it's gone. What's going to go into L1 is the bowling scores. And again, we're going to be putting in the midpoints. So let's go ahead and put that in. Once you've input the midpoints, you're going to go over to L2. So you're going to hit the right arrow, and it's going to take you to L2, and you're going to input the frequency. Let's go ahead and do that. All right, what we've done is now put in the frequency. So again, always double check, make sure every number in there is correct. One wrong number is going to result in a wrong standard deviation. All right, let's go back to stat. We're going to go back over to calculate, just like we had done before, and we're going to hit one variable stats again. Here's where we're going to use the frequency now, because we're now looking at a frequency table. The list is still coming from L1, but the frequency is what we had put into L2. How we input L2, and what you should notice is right above the number 2 on your calculator, you see this L2 in blue. How we get anything in blue is by hitting the second function key. So we're going to hit second function, number 2, and that's going to bring in L2. You're going to go down to calculate, and you're going to hit enter. All right, and from here what we have is some information. It's always nice to know the mean. The mean score here is 129.72 repeating, and our standard deviation is equal to 12.3572. I'm just going to put some dots there to represent, again, that the number continues on. Okay, for anyone that has a TI83, here's how yours is going to be different again. You're going to go to stat, just like we did. You're going to go over to calculate. You're going to go to one variable stats. Once again, this does not pop up on your screen. What's going to show up is the one variable stats, and then it's going to want you to input something. You're going to start a bracket just like you did before. You're going to put the L1 in just like you did before. However, what's different is that now we're dealing with a frequency table. You need to tell your calculator to look at the frequency. So you're going to input a comma. The comma can be found right above the 7. Next, you're going to then tell it the frequency, which came from L2. You're going to input L2 just like we did. You're going to hit the second function key, and then you're going to go down to number 2 on your calculator. Next, then you'll close your bracket just like you did before. You're going to hit enter, and you should get the exact same data that we have here. If again, you're not getting that, please let me know and I will help you with anything that you may need. All right, so this is how you calculate standard deviation using the TI-84 Plus calculator. If you need any help, please let me know. Thanks.